Good morning. My name is Stephen Capaldo from Wheelbarrow Man, or from Capaldo with Love. This morning, I would like to talk a little bit about something that we know in common parlance as fear porn. It's always emphasizing the negative and what we should be afraid of, and instead of pulling ourselves together and really living righteously for God. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how the mainstream media and the alternative media largely cover fear porn, and there's a lot of similarities in how they do that. And I'll emphasize the major 2020 events, the COVID and riots and vax and 5G. I'll talk a little bit about those. So I've talked a lot about those. I don't want to go too much into them. But to get started, I'm going to read a post that was submitted by a friend. So I'd like to thank you for that, Pam. It was a very good post. And greetings to Mary as well. We hope that you're both well. The post was written by someone named Jan Morgan. I don't know Jan Morgan, but it kind of summarizes pretty well the mindset of fear porn, when we just push fear to the kind of lengths that are kind of gross, really, and really not appropriate. And so I'll read most of her. I'll go through most of her post. It's not a long post. There's a little bit at the end about the Holocaust, which I'm not going to get into because it's a very difficult subject, and it would be a separate, maybe in a separate podcast I would get into that. But it's it makes some assumptions about the Holocaust, which in some legitimate circles are questioned. I mean, there are the people that are just Holocaust deniers, or say the Holocaust was a hoax, and that's certainly, I don't believe that. But there are other legitimate issues that have been raised about the events of World War II. How many died and who they were and how they died. There are different questions posed that are more or less worthy of a discussion, that are not strictly the official narrative given on this event. So rather than get into all of that now, I won't read that part of it. It's just a very short part at the end. But I'll go through most of the rest of what John has written, which I think that it kind of sums up what the public has bought. The public has bought this narrative of fear porn, excessive fear. And she writes, this is not about a virus, it's about control. Well, but we're almost getting to the point there with that's kind of, tell me something I don't know, right? I mean, I think we're kind of getting that. I think serious people are not doubting that there is such a thing as coronavirus and seasonal illnesses, and people die from these things. What people are doubting is the narrative. The narrative has been grossly exaggerated. The excess deaths from this illness, or any seasonal illness, the excess deaths are really, there really are not excess deaths. I mean, the number of deaths is really as a percentage. I mean, they're really not huge. One death is too much. That's what we like to say. But I mean, if you're doing the statistical thing, if the survival rate of something is over 99.9%, then you're not really experiencing excess deaths. And yet, when you see the way this is portrayed by the mainstream media and by most of the alternative media, most of the so-called truth community, the way they portray it, it's like it's deliberately done to get people addicted to fear porn, or to get them scared out of their minds, so that they just want to be home and not do anything, and not live life and not love life and not do what God has called them to do in life. And she writes, in 4 months, the U.S. transformed into an obedient socialist country. Government dictated what events are acceptable to attend. Violent protests that instill fear are okay, but church services, family funerals, and patriotic celebrations are dangerous. And you bought it without a fight. So she's kind of getting into her own fighting words, but it's true. What strikes me in how the government is handling this, and it's mostly individual states decide what they're going to do. The federal government is not really the one that implements the crisis strategy. This is really up to state governments. But really, it's amazing to see all of the inconsistencies, that certain things are dangerous, like we shouldn't have people together doing certain things, but other things we can have them together and it's okay. We can have people to attend protests, or call them whatever you want to call them, and that's okay. We can have people congregating in Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot and all of these places, and that's okay. But church, and I don't attend a church, but in a time of crisis, if people are attending a church organization, a building, and they have a fellow congregation, this might be a time when they want a fellowship. This is not a time for churches to close for 501c3, for tax money. It's not a time to try to keep people apart. If they believe that they have a flock and they have people that they want a fellowship with. I mean, in these times, you want the comfort of people that you know and people that you love. And I don't have to be the greatest fan of churchianity and churches and going to an organized church and organized religion generally. I'm not a fan of that. But it's if these places provide comfort to certain people, this is a time when you need comfort. And family funerals and care facilities and national celebrations or patriotic celebrations, all of these you can't. We don't want people gathering like that or any kind of fun, beach or partying, this type of thing. Okay, but if you're saying that this is such a dangerous situation, then let's see some consistency in the implementation of it. And the one thing that the media and the politicians, I think it's very hypocritical on the part of media and politicians that they will not acknowledge, they will not freely and routinely acknowledge that science has different opinions about some of these things. Science had different opinions and has different opinions about climate change, right? And that's another one. Climate change didn't work so well, so now it's COVID, right? Scientists have different opinions about masks and social distancing and lockdowns, and scientists have different opinions about a lot of different things, right? And the other thing too is that nobody can be taken seriously if they do their own scientific research if they don't have some professional credential. That's the other thing that's very hypocritical on the part of media and government, and that if you say anything against the official narrative, you're a person who doesn't care about people, you're a person who doesn't love people, you're a person who wants to see people dead. These are all outrageous positions, but basically what the government tells us is, as one state governor said recently, just wear the damn mask, right? I mean, that's not a sensitive, caring dialogue with your citizenry. That's just government. That's just people spouting orders, saying, sit down, shut up, and do what we tell you. And I think that's really kind of the logic or the spirit behind what John Morgan is writing. Standing in a graduation line, she writes, is a safety hazard. Small businesses, restaurants, and gun stores and ranges were forced to close, but crowds to support the corporate money machine at Walmart, Lowe's, and Home Depot are okay. And by the way, if you want to do some research, you might find it very interesting if you don't find it absolutely disgusting. But see behind the scenes what type of activities corporations like Walmart and Maersk Shipping and Wayfair and Evergreen, do some research on those and see what you come up with. I think you'd find it interesting, but I'm warning you, you may also find it disgusting. And if you already know what I'm talking about, hurting children basically is the topic. I think you find it very interesting to do some research on those corporations. Come on, it's just a mask and safety precautions. Well, one thing we know, it's not just a mask. That's total hypocritical nonsense when people say it's just a mask. No, it isn't just a mask. First of all, there's controversy among scientists about whether or not a mask is effective. And no, it's not just a mask. It is submitting to arbitrary or control that is really one-sided control. As I said, politicians and media are very hypocritical in the fact that they don't acknowledge that there are different scientific viewpoints on some of these issues. They just give you their orders for their agenda. And well, I think it's why basically we've got to the point where now we are a world that is ruled over by criminals. This is why we're at this point now. How about a little hush money? Here's $2,400 that we stole out of your paycheck in the first place. Enjoy, buy something with it from the big corporation. Well, we did qualify for the $2,400. And we got it. We got a card and went through that procedure. They don't mail paper checks anymore. Apparently, you get a debit card and you have to negotiate that online and work with it that way, and then go to the bank. But okay, I don't know. I think that it's, if you can get back even a little bit of what we've lost from theft and taxation, take what you can get. You might not get that much, and it might end up costing you much more than $2,400 to get the $2,400. Cash is dirty. We can't give change. There's a coin shortage. Use your card. In 4 months, they convinced you to use a traceable card for everything. Well, yeah. I think people should keep using cash. I think if we're not going to get coins, we're not going to get them. That's if that decision has been taken. Well, then that's the way it is. But I think people should just use the cash that they have and pay as much as possible in cash. And you've got the plastic, credit, and debit, etc. Eventually, we'll be digital. It wouldn't take very much to have digital. And the thing is, I don't think that digital is inherently good or bad. I think it's what it's going to be used for. If it's going to be used as a weapon, I think the intent of the people at the top of the pyramid is that they want to use it as a weapon to control you, that if you don't have the vaccination, then you don't have access to digital, the digital economy. For example, I think that's what they're intending to do. But God may have another plan using other humans, to advance that plan. And it may well be that doesn't come to fruition. Eventually, things are going to get better. We just don't know when. We don't know if it's fairly close within a few months, or it may be a few years away. But eventually, we know how it works. We know that God wins, right? We know that we're going to get a world where instead of the evil people in control, there will still be evil, but there will be much less, and the good and godly people will be in control, which for a long time they haven't been. It'll happen. It's just a question of when. I mean, I believe it by faith. It's just I don't know. Are we really right at the door, or are we going to keep going downhill for a while, and then before we finally come back up? In less than 4 months, government closed public schools, then restructured education under the guise of public safety. See, that's always a good one. When someone tells you it's for your own good or to keep you safe, basically you have to get into this mindset of when you hear these official statements, you have to be thinking the opposite is probably true. The opposite, or what you're being told, like it could be a 180-degree total upside-down lie. It could be. Or it could be a distortion, with maybe a little bit of truth thrown in there, but basically it's deceitful and it's confused and chaotic and it throws you off the track. There are different ways to get you away from truth. But you really, as an antidote to all of this mainstream media and fear porn of the alternative and the alternative media even, you really have to seek truth and righteousness, the truth and righteousness, which is the creation of the Almighty Creator. Seek Him. Seek Him. And in Jesus Christ, which means, what does Jesus Christ really mean? It means that the power of God saves. So seek the Almighty Creator. Let's seek the Almighty Creator in Christ. So in less than 4 months, government closed public schools, then restructured education under the guise of public safety. In less than 4 months, our government demonstrated how easily people assimilate to guidelines, in quotes, that have no scientific premise whatsoever when you are fearful. And there are different, as I said, different scientific viewpoints. It's not everybody doesn't think that you should wear a mask. You're going to wear a mask effectively in science, of the scientific professionals. And 4 months, if you go basically mid to late March, April, May, June, July, and here we are in August. Today is the Wednesday, the 5th of August. And right now, this second round, the first round, the masks were not so strictly enforced, and now people, at least in the part of the world that I'm in, and I think probably most of the listeners are in, masks, everybody's just got this thing about you got to wear a mask, you got to wear a mask. Well, okay. My view of masks is I certainly don't agree with them scientifically. I don't agree with them legally, in terms of human rights. I don't agree with them ethically. My viewpoint is, if you own a shop and you really think that you should enforce this, then okay, I have to make a choice. if I want to shop in your place, I wear a mask or I make other arrangements. I go somewhere else. So I don't agree. It's, we do things sometimes we don't agree with. But see, you'll have other people who'll say, well, this is a big compromise, And yeah, I guess it is a compromise. And maybe we just should not wear masks, just say we're not wearing them. But I think there's also respect for other people. I think that has to be balanced as well. And I don't agree. And I make it clear I only put the mask on at the last minute and I take it off the minute I set foot outside of the shop. So just so people know that I don't take this seriously. I'm only doing it because apparently you do. But if it's your shop and you believe that masks should be enforced, not just that it would be maybe a good thing to wear a mask, but you actually believe that you have to enforce them, okay, that's your right, but it's probably out of fear that somebody is going to turn you in and you might not be able to operate. You might lose your business. And the thing I find very sad in these places where you have to wear a mask is that it's the so-called little people that have to enforce it. It's the employees that have to enforce it. And they're not really little people, but society thinks of them as little people, the minimum wage people, that don't earn very much. They're asked to enforce this, and and very often they're trying to force people who are older and with much more life experience, and in some cases wisdom, maybe not wisdom, but with more life experience, more maturity. They're enforcing these rules on much older people who know more about stuff than they do, and they shouldn't be put in that situation of having to do that. I mean, let the owner come and enforce it. If it has to be enforced, let the owner of the shop come, the general manager or the manager, whoever is the number one. Let them come and enforce. Instead of sending their employees, their low-wage employees, to do it. I mean, shame on them. I mean, if it's their right to enforce the mask, but they're just using people who are. They need the job. They need the crummy job. They need the crummy wages, and they need the crummy treatment. So they put up with stuff, right? And we all do that. And even professional jobs. I've had pretty good professional jobs, but not myself. But there have always been times when you just if you wanted the job, you had to put up with stuff. And I consider it a blessing that now that I don't really have to do that. But now it's very bad. I mean, people are afraid, so they just basically they don't want to be hassled. They just want to be kind of left alone, and they want to make sure that they get their paycheck, no matter how many principles they have to compromise. And you just have to love them. I mean, you can't really judge them too severely. But all I'm trying to say, I guess, is that it's a shame. It's a shame that people give in to this type of fear porn, if you like. I mean, they're giving into it all the time, and more, and not even realizing that really, if they really not only had faith, but if they just studied behind the scenes what's going on, there's a battle going on behind the scenes, and part of it, the people at the top of the pyramid, part of it are really motivated by evil, and there are others that are motivated by good, that really want to do the right thing for society. That are trying to do something good, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how long it takes. But I think fear is a very paralyzing force, and it's just it's very discouraging. And I try not to get discouraged, but to see how much fear is motivating people now, it's a shame. In less than 4 months, our government successfully instilled fear in a majority of the population in America that allows them to control every aspect of your life, including what you eat, where you go, and who you see. So that's happened in less than 4 months. The U.S. was transformed into an obedient socialist country. You were convinced to use a traceable card. The schools were closed. The government instilled fear and control into your life. And the most dangerous and terrifying part, people are not afraid of the government. And who remove their freedom, they're afraid of their neighbors, family, and friends. And isn't that true? Isn't that true? People are afraid of each other now, which is what, the people, the rulers, this is what they want. They want you to be afraid of each other. Instead of being afraid of them. You should be focusing your attention on them, on the leaders, the top of the pyramid, right? You should be focusing your attention on them and saying no more. Instead, we are afraid of our neighbors, family, and friends. It's a very, very good point, very insightful point. And they hate those who won't comply. Haven't you felt that? Is that if you won't comply or you talk against it, I mean, people hate you, or they just won't speak. I tried to have a conversation with someone the other day about the news. He was saying, "Oh yeah, I don't watch the news anymore," and I said, "Well, yeah, it's depressing," and he said, "Yeah, it's depressing," and then I said, "And it's also not very truthful." And he clammed up. He stopped immediately. He didn't want to go into that area. It's one thing to say that the mainstream news is depressing. It's another thing to say that it's not truthful, because then you're getting into, well, what is truth? Why are you saying that? Whose side are you on? And all this stuff, right? It's absolutely terrifying to me, John writes, that so many people don't question authority. They're willing to surrender their critical thinking skills and independence. They just gave up without thinking, without a fight. That's good. That's probably the best line in the whole post. Do you know what's coming next? It's just a vaccine. Come on, it's for the greater good. See, it was just a mask, then it's going to be just a vaccine, right? And we're getting just 5G. It's for the greater good. It's for this fast computer that we need. It's for the artificial intelligence that we need, right? And there may be some correction of that as well. It might be possible. We'll see. With God, all things are possible. I think we have to have a balance between being realistic, but also not losing hope. This is the thing. This fear means that people are losing hope. We should be realistic about evil, but we should not lose hope. Wait till you're told that you can't enter any store or business without proof of the COVID-19 vaccine. Wait until you can't go to public events or get on a plane without proof of receiving the vaccine. Well, yeah, that's the plan of the other side. That's the plan of evil, that's the top of the pyramid. Whatever it has, all kind of names. I don't want to get into that, what we're going to call them, but the rulers, right? The elites, globalists, and whatever. To everyone that doesn't believe this is possible, do you understand that government successfully dictated to people when they were allowed to be outside, where they were allowed to go? See, remember that, when they were allowed to be outside, the lockdown, where they were allowed to go, right? No restaurants, for example, how their children would be educated in less than 4 months, and that a majority of the population followed blindly because they were told to do so. You're kidding yourself if you think this behavior won't be repeated with a vaccine or whatever the next step is. And that's basically what she writes, and then there's that little section on the Holocaust that I'm not going to get into now, and then the closing line, but that couldn't happen here, right? Well, think again. So anyway, that's basically the post, and just to say that the mainstream media and the alternative media, most of it, the truth community, most of it, they spread fear porn. I mean, that's really what I'm trying to say. And in the case of the mainstream media, what they want you to do is they want you to submit to control of the system, the top of the pyramid. Submit to the control of globalism, of United Nations Agenda 2030, the technocracy agenda, artificial intelligence, all of that stuff. This is what the mainstream media wants you to do by instilling you with fear to get you conditioned to do that. Now, the alternative media, they're instilling fear in you so that you lose hope. This mantra that keeps coming out is, we're all going to die, we're all going to die. Well, this is, the alternative media prides itself on telling you that all of this is going on, but really they're just trying to get you addicted to it and to lose hope. And that will cause you to submit anyway, which is what the mainstream media has been trying to get people to do, is just to submit to this globalist agenda. Either way, you end up in the same place. You need to seek the truth and righteousness of the Almighty Creator. That's really what we need to do. And so I'll end the main part of the podcast there, and we'll just go into some prayer, and we'll close. Psalm 91, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For he will rescue you from the hunter's trap and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is body armor and shield. You will not fear the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the plague that stalks in darkness, nor the scourge that lays waste at noon. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only look on with your eyes and see the wicked paid back. For you have made the Lord your dwelling, who is my refuge, even the Most High, who is my refuge, so no evil will befall you, nor any plague will come near your tent. For he will give his angels charge over you to guard you in all your ways. Upon their hands they will lift you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. You will tread upon the lion and cobra, trample the young lion and serpent. Because he has devoted his love to me, says the Lord God, I will deliver him. I will set him securely on high, because he knows my name. When he calls on me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble, rescue him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. A Psalm of David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You've anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely, goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Amen and amen. Thank you very much for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.